All right, so punish counter here off the DP, right? I given the meter situation, all that, I think you take the 3,000 damage off of this interaction, right? You don't need to
Mm-hmm.
spend any drive here. I think you just take the 3,000 that you would get, right? Crouching heavy punch, run stop, crouching medium punch, light tatsu, medium DP, or even just target combo into, because you do a run stop here, right? So you can
Yeah.
do target combo DP, crouch medium punch, run DP, or something like that. You can do some combo that will give you like 3,000 damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead you extend, right, which burns you out, right?
Yeah.
And then you get like 300 more damage out of this, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
not
so
a
that
great
that's
reward.
yeah. So that's what I'm talking about, right? Is that was it a bad decision to extend? No. If it kills me, it's a good decision. But you have to remember what you're extending for here, right? Because if you wanted to deal the most damage meterless, you could have dealt it, right, with
Mm-hmm.
a shorter combo, and you still could have cornered me, right? Like if we take a look at, right? Ooh, I think I'm a little bit early here, right? So it's 3130 versus
Wow, yeah.
3300, right? That's max damage. But instead, if we
Mm-hmm.
do what the other combo, right, 2900, so 400 less damage, and more or less the same situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the convert, like the meter management there. If you had more meter to spend, then maybe it makes sense to do it, right? Like if you had some meter to burn, or you're trying to, control how many interactions you have to win here. I think that makes sense. Burning
Mm-hmm.
out for it's a little tough, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
something to keep in mind whenever you land a punish counter, right, or you see a punish counter coming, like I whiff the DP, you have like a year to decide. Oh, I'm going to punish Juzzy for that miss DP. Take a look
Mm-hmm.
at your meter, right? Look here, look here, right? Ideally, you have a sense of how much health I have left, but that's kind of tough. But if you see brown here, right, consider not spending meter, right? Consider just taking the meterless damage, not not burning out for it, obviously, unless it's going to kill, right? If it's going to kill, obviously cash out, right? I'll say that. But
Yeah.
if you see brown here, like you glance up, you see brown in your meter, you're like, okay, maybe I won't extend, or I won't do an OD move, right?
Mm-hmm.
you know and think about like your position as well here, right? Like maybe, if you look at this, you're like, oh, okay, I have this and this. Can I kill? Probably not. Should I extend? Probably not, right? Like that's really what it comes down to. Because
Yeah.
here in this situation, right, you have me cornered, right? You have an Oki situation here, right? The run DP, or the run DP here is going to be plus 25 or whatever, so you have an Oki set up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have meter to use now. So if you win another Oki situation, then you could potentially cash out, right? Or consider again looking at your meter. Oh, I have one OD or one extension here. I'll have level 2 probably when I land that hit. Can I knock this health down or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really like, and I know I say that like it's like you have a year to make that decision, but that happened in all of like 20 frames, right? Like you had a
Right.
second to make that decision, right? So it's something that just has to, it becomes automatic. The same way it became automatic for you to use meter there, right? Because most of the time you probably do, right? Like, oh, I have a huge punish opportunity, let me take it, right?
Yeah.
So again, consider the damage portion really only relevant if it's gonna kill, right? Like spending three
Yeah.
bars for extra damage is not always great, especially for Ken. And something that I think people don't talk about is that Ken's extensions, like his OD extensions and stuff, don't do all that much damage. Like they
Yeah,
don't do
for sure.
significantly more than like, like a Marissa spending or cashing out, or like a Ryu doing like an OD donkey kick or something. The expenditure is not really worth it in most cases, right? For damage anyway. Now, when it comes to like corner
Yeah.
carry and utility, obviously Ken gets a lot of that, and that's why that's where he's balanced out to be, right? And that's where he kind of wants to be.
Yeah.
But that's something to consider, right? Because when you cashed out there, right? Like where the meter, like where my health is here, right? This is still three-ish interactions that you have to win to beat me, right? Like
For sure. Too huge.
right? Yeah, so if we look at the damage, I think it was like here, right? And we have the numbers, right? It was 31 something, or 2900 to 3340 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is funny that burnout forces you to learn that, because then you're like, oh, my cancel's not going to work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So good jump. You should have cashed out here, I think. Like with the
Oh,
super.
wow.
Yeah. You could have beaten me there for sure. I think it's something that I mean, consider the alternative, right? You hit that DP. The Oki situation is still in your favor, but you have to win one more interaction, right? Like, you can't take this into the next game, right? Like, if you die here, that's it, right? So you should have cashed
Right.
out there, I think. Recognition of those situations, you probably get better at that, but you did mention that you kind of don't spend meter correctly. And some of that is
Mm-hmm.
not just overspending, but personally, I think some of it's underspending, right? Like, this is a
Mm.
resource you should be using, right? Level 3 will kill me. Will have killed me there. If you had more meter, you could hit on level 2 potentially, but spending level 3 there and sealing the round is infinitely better than losing it, right? I don't remember
Yeah.
if you win here. Let's see. But oh, you get tagged. So yeah, yeah. Like, you can't play for round 3 if you die in round 2, right? If you're down 1. So just consider that,
True.
right? Because you win right here, right? Target combo, Dragon Lash, level 3.
Mm-hmm.
Even level 3 right here would have killed me, probably, right? Because you have CA.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think I even tried to input it.
You went for the DP, right?
Yeah.
So consider that, right? Spending there, right? Having no, because you build meter really quickly in this game, right? Like, honestly, you may get level 2, maybe you may get level 2 depending on how much you parry and stuff, but you'll definitely get level 1 in round 3, right? Potentially level
Mm-hmm.
2, right? And that's already enough to make the difference in round 3, right? But again, you can't carry if you don't make it into round 3. It doesn't matter, right? So you just spend it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe later on down the road, if you're playing like these longer sets or whatever, and you try to think about, oh, I want to maximize every ounce of damage I can get when you're playing at 1700 MR, and every little bit matters, maybe you can consider being a little greedy here and not spending. But I think for us mere mortals, in this situation right here, again, one interaction will kill you, right? Right there, right? One interaction will kill you. So
Mm-hmm.
spend it, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think of that scenario and like why didn't I recognize that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think like this is something I'm kind of trying to work on is like when are these little moments of pause so that I can look at the meter, look at drive gauge, look at my super gauge, take
Mm-hmm.
that information into account and like make an informed decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there are like some nice opportunities, right? Like while you're in a DP, while you're in a cutscene animation or something, right? But
Mm-hmm.
just finding those little moments, especially if things get scrambly, is something I'm definitely uh, having a hard time with.
Yeah. No, it's a little bit eye opening, I think, when you hear a high level player talk about how often they're looking at meter. Because I look at the meter almost probably during every interaction, if not more frequently than that. Like, we're playing neutral,
Wow.
walking back and forth, and I look at the meter. Like, if my head's obviously not going to move like this, but if I was to exaggerate it, looking at the spacing, glance, 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 glance. Right? It's like StarCraft pros, right? That glance at the corner and they kind of have an idea what's happening. The information in this game is kind of nice in that they give you a lot of visual aids, especially with season 2. They added like this flashing yellow. The super bars kind of have this nice blinking action going on, right? They have like
Mm-hmm.
the bar is kind of easy to see. Once you're less than half, it turns orange, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those things, I think, in your peripherals, you'll start to notice as you make it, as you're consciously doing it, it'll become subconscious,